Now that we've looked around the Timeless 2 user interface, let's look at using it here on our vocal track. The track has been recorded to stereo, so Timeless 2 will be able to make use of both left and right inputs. I'll start by using Timeless 2 to create a simple repeated delay that bounces in time with the host tempo, in my case here using Cubase 7.5. To give us a head start, I'll choose the clean preset. Notice the modulation area is empty. Instead, just these parameters are set for this particular patch. Now maybe the first place to start will be to get the delayed level at a good balance with the dry signal. I can do this by adjusting the dry level and the wet mix. However, for the moment, I'll leave it for now. I'll leave it set at full for both the wet and the dry dials. And with this clean patch, I'll ensure the delay pan positions are set to hard left and right. They should be, but if you want to pull them in a little, you can do. Maybe you don't want the delays to be so extreme. Okay, and then now you can set the delay timing for the left and right channels should you want to deviate from the host tempo. By the way, locking with the padlock ties the two delay timings together, and now we simply control by the upper left dial. Now I do want to bounce with the song's tempo, so I'll drag the curved slider to generate exact beat-matched bouncing delays. Notice now that the millisecond time has now been removed from the left delay. I need to tempo lock the right channel too, so I'll drag the slider to here by using the lower dial settings. Okay, and once you have chosen this method of BPM matching, you can modify the dial here now, because this has now become a delay offset dial. And these small dots that circle the diameter allow you to create triplet or dotted delays. Anyway, let's hear what we have so far. Here we go.
Don't you go, this I need you to hear. Even though all my intentions happen from the heart, it's gone too long, I can't keep playing the part of the man who wears his heart on his sleeve. It's comfortable, but you must know by now it's just not me. I can't stay with you, baby.
Okay, now as you heard, the delays were too loud in relation to the dry vocal, but as you saw, that can be corrected by dialing down the wet mix dial to suit. But there is another way of adjusting this delayed level without dialing down the wet mix. What we can do is select a different filter type. If I select the first filter to reveal these extra parameters, I can change from low pass to high pass, so that I can then drag to allow only the top frequencies to be delayed. This avoids the constant repeating of the signal caused by the body of the audio hitting the delay. If I take it to around here, and don't forget you can use the pop-up information to tell you where the cutoff frequency is, well, I'll try it around here. And before I do anything else, I'll have a quick listen and I'll adjust so only the top frequencies are caught. Actually, just before I do, notice that as we have done so far, we can drag around on the filter box here, but also in the main display over at the right, we can drag one of these buttons, number 1 in this case, to move the exact same parameters. The disadvantage of doing it this way is we don't see those little pop-ups informing us about the extra information, such as the frequency we are operating around. Anyway, as I say, let's have another listen. Here we go.
Don't you go, this I need you to hear. Even though all my intentions happen from the heart, it's gone too long, I can't keep playing the part of the man who wears his heart on his sleeve. It's comfortable, but you must know by now it's just not me. I can't stay with you, baby. Don't you go, this I need you to hear. Even though all my intentions happen from the heart, it's gone too long, I can't keep playing the part.
Okay, now as we saw there, we can further modify by choosing a steeper slope, flicking between 12, 24 and 48. To be honest, I think I preferred the 12 decibel slope, it being a little bit more gentle. Anyway, perhaps a better choice would be to select band pass rather than high pass or low pass. and sweep around until I find the sweet spot, where the low and the high ends are cut, and just the upper mids trigger the delay. Consequently now, within our first filter, we see this bandpass lift here, which is clearly cutting out the lower and the higher frequencies. Of course, all I need to do now is sweep it around until I find the exact spot that I think generates the most natural delays. So, once more, I'll start playback again, and I'll sweep this around until I find the sweet spot. Here we go.
Don't you go, this I need you to hear. Even though all my intentions happen from the heart, it's gone too long, I can't keep playing the part of the man who wears his heart on his sleeve. It's comfortable, but you must know by now it's just not me. I can't stay with you, baby.
Okay, sounding better. Maybe I'm still not too happy in terms of the volume, but we can adjust the wet mix as we've seen earlier so that we can dial this down. Alternatively, we can set Timeless2 up by using the modulation section so that it acts like a ducker, in that when the vocal signal is prominent, then there won't be any delay. Or rather, I am going to dial it in so that there is a very small amount of delay, but during the pauses between the vocal lines, then the delay will be allowed to show through. Now, although not essential, I could bring in the delay pan ever so slightly for the left and the right. I'll see how this works as we go along. Anyway, the first step really is to come down to the modulation section and click on the plus button and then drop down and choose New Envelope Generator. Consequently, the Envelope Generator number 1 module opens up, and my first step will be to link this so that it's driven by the wet mix. So, by left-clicking here, as we've seen with previous plugins, just drag across to the particular parameter that you want to link to. OK, done. I am now linked to this wet mix dial, in terms of the inner dial, the wet level. And of course we can actually see that here in slot number 1, there is the wet level. First of all, I'm going to drive my wet level right up to its limit, left click and drag to the right. But if I left it like this, then I wouldn't be ducking the signal. What I need to do is come to this plus button here and invert it. So now instead of seeing the plus button, we see the negative symbol. This will mean that when the signal is present, then the delay will be muted. And it's only when our signal stops that the delay will be allowed to peep through. Well, certainly set like this with the wet level at its extreme setting at the right. Now, I'm not too sure at the moment what this is going to sound like, whether it's going to be too much or too little, so I'll play around with the parameters, and to just save you some time whilst I'm doing this, I'll pause the screen recording and come back once done. Okay, now I've set the wet level here so that it's not at the extreme setting. It's just slightly less, and I've only done this so that there is a very subtle delay underneath the vocal when it is present. And I've adjusted the attack time here so that this envelope generator kicks in pretty quickly, well, immediately, and I've increased the sustain, and I've placed the threshold dial at this noon position. Again, this is all to make the effect subtle. And speaking of doing that, you might have noticed up here within the feedback section, I've dialed in a little bit of feedback and cross feedback so that these delays feedback on themselves and create multiple echoes, albeit they are subtle. Anyway, have a listen to the effect. Here we go.
You can keep on falling for. You just need to turn yourself away.
Okay, so as I say, very subtle, but of course you can make this much more extreme, and will of course all depend on taste. Now, I'm going to leave it here for this tutorial.